off the court in the NBA compared with what's going on the ice in the NHL, there couldn't be more of a contrast. From Sharp not taking the shot to Malone being fired in the midst of what seems to be a perfectly playoff contending team, and then the Suns losing 8 straight just to be able not to make the playoffs, and then you go to the NHL. You have Ovechkin, Alex Ovechkin, the greatest junior, going out there and breaking Gretzky's record, and Vancouver coming back to beat the Dallas Stars 6-5 in overtime, even with being down by 3 goals with less than a minute left in the game. There could not be more of a contrast between the heartbreak in basketball and the celebration on the ice. And it just reminds me what PK Subban said. Basketball players, not counting Sharp in the national championship, but NBA, they play for themselves. The NHL, they play for the fans. Guys, this is a opportunity for us to really talk about what is going on between these two sports. We will get into that and more on this episode of Box Scores and Bourbon. All right, Manny.
All right, JB, welcome back.
Welcome back.
Let's start as we usually start.
Oh, Manny disappeared. All right. Well, cheers, everyone. Clink, clink. All right. So before we move on to anything else in the sports world, I want to divulge just a little bit more on that opening. So, nothing against Sharp and the ending of that game. You can have your own opinions about what Houston should have done. Down by 2, maybe they drive down to the bucket, maybe get a 2, maybe get a foul, and you get a free shot. But we'll never know because this is how the game ended. But when you go to the NBA and you look at how the NBA is, from Malone being fired to the Suns losing the last 8 and out of playoff contention, and then on top of that, Dallas's display toward Luka in his homecoming to Dallas, his homecoming, I should say. It's not much of a homecoming when you get stabbed in the back by your family who's trying to kick you out the door and then shat on you on the way out. But it's really a very stark contrast between the two sports right now. And I bring this up because playoffs are about to begin. And I'm curious as to, and Manny, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. I'm curious as to what the excitement level is for you about the NBA playoffs, especially considering even all the off the court talk about how great the Lakers are and LeBron being back there again after they clinched last night, and no talk of SGA and the Thunder, just the complete disrespect of the OKC Thunder and disrespect to the Cleveland Cavaliers too. Sitting there, and I get Boston is healthy, Kristaps is healthy. I get it. When Kristaps is healthy, if Porzingis goes, the Celtics go. You can talk about Jalen and Jason all you want, but when Kristaps was not on the court last postseason, Boston definitely had some issues. So I'd like to hear, are you excited about, or how excited are you about the NBA playoffs this year?
Yeah, I was about to correct you. I was going to say, I don't know if excited is the right word to use for it. I saw a breakdown of how with 3 days left in the season, with being Thursday today, the season ends on Sunday. So 3 days left of the season. There was a whole lot of parity within, especially the Western Conference, where a lot of teams could move between second and sixth or seventh or eighth. Like everything was up for grabs, really. I guess when it comes to the competitive factor, that's a good thing. But at the same time, I'm trying to analyze and figure out if it's all that close and bunched up together when it comes to no no really locked up places because all the teams are just as good as and competitive, or if it's just that type of season where everybody's just like cruising through kind of a mediocre season. There hasn't been really a stellar team besides the Cavaliers and the Thunder. There hasn't been a whole lot of competitive factors that I've seen across the board. So if you're asking me, am I excited? I would have to say not really. But if I had to say how excited I am, I guess I would have to say the point that I can find excitement on is that there's a good chance that we'll see a really random, unexpected team make the conference finals on both sides, on the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. If there was a year where I was gonna say, yeah, it's looking like there's not a solid number two in either conference. We know what number ones are. I'd be surprised if I saw anybody but the Thunder and the Cavaliers sitting on the other side of that conference finals. But besides that, I mean, I guess the excitement comes from, yeah, I could see a seven, a six seeded team kind of make a push towards the conference finals, and I guess that's good for the league. A little bit of a Cinderella story, but at the same time, like I just said, if we're looking at a bracket projection where a team can either sit at number two or at number six by the end of the season, they all have the opportunity to move around that much. If it's gonna be like a six seed, are they like a true six seed, or is it just like how the cookie crumbled by the end of the season and some weird little matchups or whatever kind of ended up making it
Mm-hmm.
fall in that way? It's a very confusing season. I think even I'm not one that looks at ratings, but if I had to dive into the ratings, I would say the numbers would reflect that there's not a whole lot of excitement going around the season as a whole, around the league, around a specific play. Like all that has just been kind of lull, and I think there was a potential for it to start getting traction when we saw Victor Wembanyama kind of starting to take the reins of the Spurs and him and Chris Paul figuring out how to create a dynamic team in San Antonio. And then once he got hurt, it almost seems like it was a butterfly effect with a lot of other kind of competitive excitement kind of fell through the cracks, and it ended up becoming what we see now, where we're trying to make a storyline about the Golden State Warriors, which are, I believe, last time I checked, they were the sixth seed sitting right now, and the Lakers that after the Luka trade have had made some crazy little flashes of pushing towards the top. Besides that, I mean, there's not really anything else to talk about. But again, the media is going to latch onto those teams, and they're hyping up that kind of matchup because it's the flashiest of the franchises. But besides the media telling you what you should be excited about, looking at the play, looking at the type of competitiveness that there is, there's not much. There's not really much for me to really latch onto. It's going to be an interesting playoffs. I'll leave it at that. I think it'll be an interesting playoffs for the point that I just made. But exciting about it,
Yeah.
having a hard time finding something to be excited about with 3 days left in the season.
Yeah. And you mentioned playoffs, so we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the Final Four and that natty that happened on Monday. So let's take you guys back to a time of yesteryear, which was Saturday, and
Yeah.
let's break down both of those games. Let's start with Florida in Auburn. Um, I sat here last week, said Auburn was my pick to win it all.
Mhm.
But if you were asking me as a human who lives in reality, Florida was going to win that game. Um, it was a surprise that Janai Broom played in that game. Um, uh, it was a surprise based on what we had heard. I'm not surprised based on the player that he is. So the
Right.
man that he is, I'm not surprised at all. I credit Bruce Pearl all the way for throwing him into that lineup mix, getting him his minutes on the floor. But uh, what can you say more about Walter Clayton Jr.? That dude he's a stud. He is a stud all the way. He dominated that game, and so it wasn't a surprise to me that Florida won that game, and uh, and so what were your thoughts on watching that?
I it's impressive to see the way that Florida kind of played that game. It was almost like a scripted way that they've been playing the entire tournament, and it maybe when we saw like the halftime score, I think Florida was down by what 8 at halftime. People were thinking Auburn really had this in the bag. But if you look back at all their other tournament wins or their tournament games, they pretty much played from behind in the second half every single game. They always had to succumb a
They
deficit
were
that
down
they
by
were.
12 against Houston.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
we'll eventually dive more into the actual championship
Hmm.
game. But I mean, just the fact that Florida was in the position of being down by 8 at halftime almost made it seem like Florida was exactly where they wanted to be, which is surprising to say because no team would ever sit there and say, "Oh yeah, we want to play from behind the second half. We feel like we're at our best when we're playing from behind." But I mean, maybe in the locker room they're saying that because every game they seemed like they had the perfect second half adjustments or the second half strategy, and every time it seemed like a 12 point deficit was right where they wanted to be, and they seemed like they were allowing a team to maybe get a little bit hopeful to change up the strategy or something. But yeah, they played an impressive second half. I did they looked the thing about that game the matchup is that the first half by watching it it did look like Florida was kind of losing control of it. But again, kudos to the coach. If he's that good at making second half adjustments every single tournament,
Hmm.
kudos to you. And I mean, they're national champions for a reason at this point.
Yeah.
But it really did give you a little bit of a weary looking at that first half because they were not playing well. They were playing kind of sloppy in that game. I think they had
Hmm.
I can't remember the numbers, but they had accumulated a higher amount of turnovers that they were accustomed to throughout the tournament, and for them to come out how they did for that second half and really show their championship pedigree that they had in that on that roster was really impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. And you brought up the halftime adjustments. When you look at the coaching in this Final Four,
Hmm.
you couldn't have asked for a greater roster of current college basketball coaches with between Todd Golden and Bruce Pearl, and then with John Shayer and Kelvin Sampson. I mean, that's a a treasure trove of coaching right there. Being able to have those four guys, and no matter what happened, and to your point, those second half adjustments by Todd Golden were huge, and obviously
Hmm.
played a key role in them not only beating Auburn, but them coming back and beating Houston as well. But so much of this comes down to coaching. And if you look at even just on Auburn's perspective, so much of my belief in Auburn winning this really
Yep.
was behind who Bruce Pearl is. Bruce
Yep.
Pearl is a leader of men. He is a molder of men, and his ability to be able to put the players in the positions to win. I mean, um, even in that Final Four loss to Florida, I think it was a reporter asked about Chad Baker Mazzara, and he said Bruce Pearl's words were, "Well, if he had a better coach, he would have had better looks." And
Yeah.
just being able to be that guy to sit there and say, "Yeah, look, that's on me. This is all on
Hmm.
me. I did not coach to my most optimum, and so this is why we're here now. This has
Hmm.
nothing to do with with the men who showed up on the floor and gave it their all and were there for one another. And so that game right there, that Florida Auburn game, was 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 a real just a testament, I believe, to just the coaching,
Yep.
being able to coach it because even yeah, we could say Florida won, but Auburn kept that game close without their best player even being at 100%. Their best
Yep.
player was 50% at best. And so him being able to draw up an offensive scheme to be able to keep the game as close as it was is a true testament to Bruce Pearl.
Hmm.
Out of the two games, that was my most favorite game to watch. And
Interesting.
maybe that could be an SEC bias. I'm an LSU guy. Could be an
Yeah.
SEC bias. It's odd rooting for another team named the Tigers, but I like I said, maybe it's an allegiance to the conference that I've rooted for 30 years. So the
Hey, a
40 years.
tiger is a tiger, no matter where he's coming from.
What's that?
I said a tiger is a tiger, no matter where he's coming from. It's justifiable for you to cheer for the
How
Auburn
dare
Tiger.
you? How dare you, sir? We are the Bayou Bengals for a reason. A reason,
It's a
sir.
tiger.
I said
It's a
good day. So it was very entertaining to watch. Now that Duke Houston game, that was a
yes.
completely different story.
Let me take a second. Maybe I'll take some flowers. Maybe I'll give myself a pat in the back, a little dust off the shoulders, flex my analysis from the previous week a little bit. Because I sat here, JB, last week and said if Houston was going to win that game against Duke, they had to slow down the game, control
Hmm.
their type of offense, make sure that it didn't become a shootout, and then I even said it. If you keep those three things in line,
Hmm.
maybe you can have a chance at the last few seconds to steal that game from Duke.
Yeah,
And that is exactly what happened. I mean, in a most maybe not the way that I imagined it to happen. I didn't expect a collapse in the way that Duke really
yeah,
had. But hey, I'll take the fact that Houston put themselves in the position to steal that game from them. And
yeah,
kudos to Houston and kudos to that coach. I have to, like I always say, I don't get many wins when I talk about like my analysis and my predictions on how things are gonna go. So I'm gonna take my moment to really like praise myself a little bit because I called it
yeah.
that Houston had to not let Duke play Duke basketball.
Hmm.
They had to force Duke to play Houston basketball. Houston had been playing a low scoring game, dominating on the defensive side. Duke had been playing an offensive, explosive type of game, and it turned into what Houston wanted to play the entire time. They wanted to slow down the game. What was the final score in the 60s at the end of that? I don't remember the exact score, but sat here and talked about how the lowest scoring game in the tournament for Duke was I think 80 points, 82 points. The highest scoring uh, game for the Houston before the national championship was like 68 points. If
Yeah,
they wanted to have a chance to play in the national championship, they had to slow down Duke, and they did such a good job at doing it. And like again, like I said about Auburn and Florida's game, 8 points and 6 points. It seemed like they had Duke exactly where they wanted them at the end because they had such a good strategy defensively to get
yeah,
those steals, get the force the Duke players to make silly mistakes. Or you can argue that that foul that Duke had at the end for on that rebound was maybe a
hmm,
little bit iffy. Maybe they shouldn't have called that, but ultimately they
yeah. No,
put
that was a
Duke
BS
in the
call. No, no,
position.
no. They should no. Let's just let's call Trump now. Let's make him sign an executive order. There was no foul on
Yeah,
that play. There was zero foul on that play. If anything, the foul was on Houston. Like it was like this was like it was that was the most I've okay, I've watched a ton of sports in my day. That was one of the, and I'm going to say it was one of the most egregious calls I've seen, only because of the moment it happened in. And
yeah.
so, like that I mean, to me, that's up there with the Tuck rule when Tom Brady clearly fumbled the football. He
I
clearly
thought you were
fumbled.
gonna go. I thought you were gonna go with the PI with the Saints in the playoffs. That was
Oh
just
yeah, I mean
along
that
the.
too. That too. But it's just and it's just and I'm not saying Duke would have won the game. I'm not saying that would have happened, but it's just I think that right there took a lot out of the game. It
Yeah,
took so
yeah,
much out of it because the score was 70 to 67. It was so close. And when you have a moment where the refs just take the game into their hands and don't
yeah.
allow the players to play. Nothing against the refs in that game, but it was in that moment right there. No, you let them play.
Hmm.
Let them play. I'm of the of the of, of the party that says when it gets within 20 seconds, the refs leave the court. They just leave. And you
Just
just let everyone else play. Just let them
if it's
play.
outrageous, step in.
Yeah, it's like and so and that was not good. But to your point about Houston and how they slowed the game down and they forced Duke to play Houston basketball, that was huge because you look at that Houston game against Tennessee in the Elite Eight, and
Hmm.
you look at and Houston won that game by 20 points. So, but you look at that game, and that's that's really more so because of Tennessee volunteering to give the game away than it was, more so than it was Houston just playing their game of just let's just take our time, let's let's go easy. And then you go to the national championship. Houston played a completely different ball game.
Yeah.
When you're up by 12 with 10 minutes left, and Florida's best player, Clayton Jr., didn't get a bucket until like a minute 10 in the second half. So,
Yeah, it was a
I
rough.
mean,
It
by
was
that,
rough going for him.
he had like 5 assists up to that point, but he had no points, zero, goose egg. And I was watching that game, and I think they were down by 8 at that point when Clayton got his first bucket.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Florida's, and everyone was saying Houston has Florida right where they want them. And I'm like, I see it completely different. If Florida's only down by 8 and Houston is playing the game that they play, then something is going right with Todd Golden and his squad.
Yeah.
And with when they and when Clayton got that bucket, I was like, okay, I think there's a chance Florida can wake up. And even with 2 minutes left, Houston still seemed to be in control of that game. They still seemed to be in control. But then Houston hurried up. They started playing faster and quicker. And I'm like,
yeah, I put that on my
what are they
notes.
doing?
What happened? Houston lost themselves. I just spent 5 minutes talking about how they're great at slowing down the game against Duke. It seemed like 5 minutes left in the national championship, they forgot what had gotten them there. They started shooting threes. They started going for like fast break points. They started doing perimeter offense, and it just backfired on them in a very, very ugly way. And it was more surprising because at the time where they were starting to try doing this like perimeter offense thing, Florida wasn't hitting any threes. They were missing them. But what do? They pushed the paint down by 8, down by 12. They pushed the paint and they kept getting their easy layups, their dunks, and somehow that worked for them. And Houston kept relying on the threes. I was dumbfounded when I was watching the last like 10 minutes of that game where they just who was Houston?
Yeah.
They wanted to like be the Duke 0.5 version of the 2025 college basketball season because they were acting like they were like this miraculous like the greatest show on the court, referencing the NFL greatest show on turf, but they were acting like they were some miraculous like offensive power, and that's not what got them there. Their defense got them there, and they just completely forgot about that. Maybe you had an analysis on why what you saw that maybe made them think that was the right approach, but I did not understand that.
Yeah, no, I didn't understand it either, and it was it to me it almost seemed as if Houston saw the light at the end of the tunnel, and they saw what was happening with Clayton. And look, Alex Condon was really the only offense that Florida had that entire game, and Alex Condon played out of his mind. But it was one of those things where Houston, I thought Kelvin Sampson looked at Houston and he looked at LJ Cryer and he said, hey, I want you guys to be more aggressive. I want to put this game away because Clayton's not performing. This can't be sustained, and it's too close for it. It's too close of a game when Clayton is not shooting, when he's not scoring. It's too close. And I felt Kelvin Sampson may have told them at halftime, hey, let's put this thing away. But the problem with that is, and again to your point, Houston played a style of basketball all season long. This is why they were 30-5. I believe they were undefeated in in conference games. But it was just one of those things where it's like saying, okay, outside cat, I need you to come inside and I need you to be a domesticated puppy. Okay? You're a puppy now. Sit. Roll over. Come over here. Like, it's like, let's play fetch. Like, it's just, it was outside of what they were used to and outside of their style of play. And
Mm-hmm.
when there was 2 minutes left, I still felt Houston was in control of the game. I really did. I think Florida was still down by 6 at that point. I was like, okay, Houston's got this. All they need to do was play the game they played against Tennessee, the same game they played against Duke. Just run the clock out. Just clock management. Just just play your style. And they
Yeah.
played the opposite of that style. And so Florida being able to come back was not so much testament to Florida, but a detriment to how Houston was playing that game in the second half. It made zero sense to me. And so,
Yeah, and kudos to Crier. I think part of the reason that they kind of started pushing the perimeter offense is because Crier was really on fire that second half. He was the driving force behind their offense. So kudos to him for kind of knowing that he was in the zone. But ultimately, it ended up backfiring on them that they kind of relied a little too much on what he was doing and kind of embraced that as their
yeah,
team as the team approach. It didn't look pretty. It didn't feel pretty. I mean, you have a different take than I do. I felt like that they lost the game at around 10 minutes where they really started getting out of hand. And I took some notes on that game as I was watching it just for me to be able to recollect how this game went down. And there's an unsung hero, maybe not unsung hero to some people, but I feel like he didn't get enough attention. And this was the Thomas Howe.
mm-hmm.
When Florida was down, I think at that point they were still down by 10, no, 12 points at that point. There was 10 minutes left in the game. He had a stretch of probably 2 minutes that I felt decided and defined that game for Florida in a way that went underappreciated. And there was no like player of the game for Florida that had Thomas Howe as like a nominee or like the player of the game. But I felt like he did something amazing for that team that really brought life back into the Florida offense. And here's how that went. With 10 minutes left in the game, he was posted up on defense. And he played a great defense on the post. And I forget who I didn't write down who he was defending at that point. But he posted up great played great defense, affected that shot, and got the rebound on that play. He pushed that rebound directly into a 3-point shot by Florida. Right after that possession, he assisted with a double team on the perimeter that ended up blocking a pass that got stolen, and that led to a 2-on-1 on the other side where he again hustled after blocking that pass and did this miraculous spinning layup and got a foul, and that turned it from a 12-point game, and those in that was like 2 minutes. That was a 6-point swing just in that time. It went from a 12-point game to a 6-point game at that point, and I felt like watching that game, how he performed and how he just did those that dominated the court for those 2 minutes. It really gave life into the Florida offense, and you could feel it as you watch the game after he did this. One of the more impressive layups that I've seen, where he gets fouled, he's spinning, he reverse lays it up over his shoulder, very very glamorous with his overhand, like over the back hook. He felt it. He's screaming at the crowd. The atmosphere completely changed. If you're a Houston fan, at that moment, I feel like the air kind of like got sucked out of the building really fast because it was an impressive play. They were pushing it to 6. He got fouled. It was an and one. Like it was such an impressive 2 minute stretch. And then after that, he kind of fell back to his role, and Florida kept doing their thing, and they ended up coming back. But I really feel like that moment was the defining moment for Florida. And I don't think I have to disagree with you when you say even at towards the end, Houston had that in the bag. I feel like they lost it at that point. It was a completely different game at that point to me.
no, and that's a great point because and valid too because you know I felt like Houston. I mean, obviously Houston was slipping away, but I thought, and I thought even at the 2 minute mark when they were still up by I think like what 6 points I think it was, I was
Hmm.
like Houston still has a chance here if they go back to their style of play. If they just go back, they slow down. If they run out the clock, they can still win this thing. Because of their ability to play slow, to play the clock, and to be able to just uh, bait their opponent into making their own defensive miscues, they had an opportunity there to still control the game. And I'm not saying that Houston hadn't already lost it. I'm saying, but there was still a chance there. There
Oh,
was
for
still a
sure. I mean,
chance.
there was a chance with 5 seconds left. They had a chance the
There was
entire
a chance with
ending.
19 seconds left because then when they got the ball back when they had going down by two, that
Yeah,
was so. Let's get to that. So there's 19 seconds left. You're down by two. 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 The last I checked, a layup equals 1 plus 1 equals 2.
yeah,
19 seconds. They had the ball at the top of the key with like 12.9 seconds left. Crier gets the ball and he's trying to figure out what to do. I was like, just go Steph Curry on him and drive to the bucket. Just do it. And then
yep,
he finds Sharp. And look, no discredit to Sharp. According to Houston, the staff and the players there, Sharp is one of the guys that you would want to have the ball at the end.
yeah.
He is one of the guys that can make the shot when it counts. But when it's 5 seconds left and you have the ball, and you don't at least pump fake, when you see Walter Clayton Jr. coming at you and you don't pump fake, you know he's going up. You know he's trying to block it. So Sharp goes up, and we all saw it. He drops the ball, and the Sharp's credit to have the mindset in that moment to see and understand if I touch the ball, that's traveling. I
Hmm.
can't touch the ball. So I don't know who it was that that was trying to dive on the ball for Houston, but he was looking right at him. He was like, get it, get it, get it, get it, get it. I
Yeah,
can't touch it. I can't touch it. Or at least
yeah.
just pass it to me. I can't touch it. So it was credit to him for being in that frame of mind in that moment. But with 19 seconds left and you're down by two, I mean, and this is where their ability to be so we've talked about just their way of playing the game is taking it slow and not having to rush things. When you take someone out of their nature, out of how they know how to do things, and say, hey, real quick, I need you to just change everything you're doing and do the exact opposite. It's really hard to do that because this isn't something that's in you. It's not part of your system. And I believe in that 19 seconds was a microcosm of how Houston plays their game and how they shifted everything in that second half.
Hmm. It really was. That I mean, it was, uh, like you said, a microcosm of how they had played that second half, how they played at any time frame in the second half. You can say the 19 seconds really reflected the time they were playing because I know we don't necessarily, and especially you don't necessarily like latch onto what a mainstream sports analysis kind of says, but every college basketball analyst, based off of how they saw that game playing out or that play playing out, they said it looked like Houston was going for the win. They were going for the 3 point. They wanted to get a 3 point shot off to make sure they didn't go into overtime. Players are tired. A lot of their players were getting into foul trouble because that game,
Yeah.
that second half, we're not even talking about the fact that that second half went from first half having, what was it, 5 fouls in the first half to like 20 fouls. So a lot of players were in foul trouble. So they didn't want to go into overtime. But a lot of the analysis was saying, yeah, it looked like Houston was trying to wrap up that game in
It
regulation, not
absolutely
go
looked
into
that way.
overtime.
And that makes
Yeah,
sense based on the style of play they had in the second half, trying to just lock it down. They're trying to
yeah.
lock that game down, and then from that moment on, when maybe it's a testament to Howell. Maybe that change didn't happen until Howell was doing what he did in that 2 minutes, and Kelvin Sampson, it was like, okay, let's put this game out of reach. Let's do it. Let's
Yeah,
close it out. Let's make it ours now. And
yeah,
but the problem is when you take someone outside of how they are accustomed to doing things, and not even just accustomed to doing things, the style of play that got you there, that the Houston basketball got them to the national championship. That's how you were able to get here. That's how you
yep,
were able to unseat Duke, who
yep.
was everyone's favorite to win the whole thing. That's how you were able to do it. Yes, you.
Hmm.
Yes. That's what got you there. That and look, Tennessee's not a bad team. They made Tennessee look foolish because of that.
Hmm.
They absolutely owned Duke because of it. And
Hmm.
when you come out of that element, when you completely swap around a 180 of of your style of play, that is an unintentional consequence.
Yep. And that's what I was getting at. Like the the what's the word I'm looking for? Like the epitome of what type of offense we saw Houston was playing. Really, the evil face of losing your offensive type or losing your game plan really flared its ugly face in 19 seconds because as we've been saying, Houston lost themselves. They lost their identity. They wanted what got them to the national championship was playing stellar defense and controlling the time. They lost themselves in the second half, and it all came to a cusp with 19 seconds left because again, they wanted to go for a three. That was not who they were. They were not a perimeter offense the entire tournament. They should have gone for a two. Unless it was a wide open three, they should have gone for a two. I understand that you put yourself in a bind if you go into overtime. But again, if you feel this game is hanging by a thread at the point where it was, and let's be honest, we can't sit here and say Houston was comfortable with a minute left saying, "Oh, either way, we have this. We know that we can win this game." There was there was some uncertainty to it.
Mm-hmm.
When there's that level of uncertainty after what Florida did to you to completely obliterate
Yeah.
a
12
10,
point
12
lead.
point lead,
Yeah.
yeah. Like you go for making sure that you don't lose the game at that
Mm-hmm.
point. Sure,
Yeah.
it's nice to win the game with the 3 point, but when you're in that situation, you see the momentum swinging full speed
Mm-hmm.
the other direction, go for the tie. Remember who you are. Remember that what got you to the national championship was easy points, ball movement, stellar defense, and just easy buckets. That should have happened
Yeah.
right away. And like I said, it all epitomized at that point because again, they lost their identity with 19 seconds. They lost their identity the second half. I mean, I'm already beating a dead horse at that point. But with 19 seconds, that was a time for them to say, okay, you know what? We tried. We had them on the curb. We had our foot on their necks. It didn't work. We are who we are. Let's go win this game
Yeah.
in the way that we know how. We'll try in the overtime period to really play our type of basketball. That didn't happen. It flared its face in a really ugly way. You hate to see a game finish with not even a shot towards the basket. Even if it's an ugly shot, you hate to see a game finish whenever there's not even a shot on the basket and the players are crawling on the floor for the basket and looking at the time and
Yeah.
realizing that that's the end of their season. You
Yeah.
hate to see that way. I hate to see that for Houston, that that's how they had to see their season end, and that's how they came to the realization that they had lost what was in their grasp. But like ultimately, even as a fan base, I wanted to see a shot go up at the
Yeah.
end, even if it was a wild shot. I have seen some miraculous,
Mm-hmm.
crazy shots to win a game, to tie a game, just to keep yourself alive. That would have been more exciting. Just seeing players crawling on the floor trying to reach for the ball as you hear the buzzer at the end, it was almost underwhelming. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's it epitomized with what Houston was doing, and it
Yeah.
was a strategy that just was not of their identity, and
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it caught up to them with 5 seconds left when they were crawling on the floor trying to get a loose ball.
Yeah.
It sucks for Houston, and I have to say we're bashing Houston. We we are dissing how they. I'm not dissing how they got to the national championship, but at the end of the day, there's a loser and there's a reason that somebody lost that game. Houston unfortunately lost that game, but they played one hell of a game, a
Hmm.
hell of a tournament. I didn't think they were going to make the championship because their path was so outrageously difficult, especially
Yeah.
after you realize if you were going to make the championship, you had to go through Duke. 90% of people were saying Duke is unbeatable. It was a miraculous push for them to get to that point. So you have to give them credit that they got to that point. It just sucks that you saw it end the way that you did. It
Yeah.
breaks your heart
It
almost,
does.
especially for the coach.
Yeah.
What's his name again? The Houston coach.
Kelvin Sampson
As you saw him,
just
Calvin
standing there with
Salmson.
his arms by his side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like not mad, not angry, not like losing like a lot of emotions,
Shocked.
just like
Just shocked.
shocked, his face drained, no emotion whatsoever. You saw the weight of what had just happened, and you saw that like, oh my god, we've gone to Elite Eights, we've had Final Fours, we had great teams that got upset in the Sweet 16. We're here, and this is how like this is how we lost the game. You could just see it in his face, and you felt for him that you felt like
Yeah.
the weight of the sports world like sitting on his shoulders. That like, damn it, like this is how we have to remember that our season ended. It's a tough break for Houston, and you have to give them credit for getting there, and two, you have to feel some sort of like shucks for you guys because it is such a shitty way
Yeah.
for you to see your season come
It
to
is.
an end.
Yeah. Uh, you know, but congrats to Florida, national champions. Way to go. Uh, so now let's shift gears. Let's finish up our segment, buy, balance, or blow it up. We have three divisions to finish.
Yeah.
So before we do our round one mock draft next week, next Thursday is the mock draft round one for box scores and bourbon. And we have additional content to go with that draft as well. But let's move on to the NFL part of this. And let's start with the AFC South. We ended with the NFC South last week, so let's start with the AFC South. So, um, Houston won that division.
Yep.
So let me hear what your buy, balance, or blow it up is for Houston.
Houston, I don't. I'm honestly torn with what Houston has to do this offseason. It seems like, I mean, they traded one of their great linemen. Like,
Yeah,
I'm honestly, I'm lost. I wish you would have gone first because I could have like piggybacked on what you said. But if I had to look at what Houston is doing, I think you have to find some balance in what you're doing. Like CJ Stroud's rookie season was a miraculous season. You, in my opinion, overperformed with the rookie quarterback. This season, you kind of came back to reality, and you just like you're trying to find what the identity of the Texans is. You just have to kind of stabilize that organization. It's too much. As I saw the Texans play their season out, and yeah, they won a playoff game. Kudos to them. But it felt like it was too swingy from where they were last year. So I feel like if something is swinging to the point where like you're like having a hard time pinpointing it, you have to find something to like just pinch it, grab your chopsticks, pinch it, find a stopping point, find where that thing's gonna balance, and then keep building on that point. So because of just the uncertainty, the way that I didn't really like how the Texans were looking, I would have to say you have to find some balance and figure out where you're gonna go moving forward because it was again, they won the division, they won a playoff game, but it was kind of an ugly way to like the entire season, even the playoffs, they were kind of ugly. So I would say find balance in what you the type of organization, the type of offense and really like offense, defense, all the strategic stuff. You have to find some balance in what your identity is going to be. So I'm going to lock in balance for the Houston Texans.
Yeah, no, I didn't understand the the Laramie Tunsil trade. That was the
Yeah.
tackle that you had brought up,
Yeah.
but I get from Houston's perspective they're trying to save money, and Tunsil is aging. He's getting older. Kudos to Jaden Daniels for getting an elite tackle. Hopefully he stays elite, but um, I was very confused by their moves, especially with the Tunsil trade, because you're trying to develop and keep upright and protect C.J. Stroud, and you get rid of probably the best weapon he has on that offensive line, and you get rid of him. And that part didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Now, look, Texans has picks. They outside of the one they traded to the Vikings, a 6th round pick to the Vikings for Ed Ingram, a guard. And
Yeah.
it's not that Houston has stayed silent on the O line. They signed Lincoln Tomlinson. They got Ingram from Minnesota. I think they got a guard, Cam Robinson. So it's not as if they stayed silent and they've just like, oh well, we'll just see what happens. But that was odd to me. And then Diggs leaves, and so he's not there anymore. And not that he was there last year either. He was out all season.
Yeah.
But
Right.
Houston finished too high up in the season to be able to really kind of take advantage of the position players in the draft. And so when you're picking in the 20s, not
Mm-hmm.
much opportunity without trading up to be able to shore up the skill position on that offensive side. They were able to lock down Stingley, which is good. I think that's a great move by them. Stingley's one of the best corners in the league by now, and so being able to lock him down and keep him in Houston is a great move. But I would have really loved to have seen them buy, because they won that division not based on their merit, but based on the fact that they're in the AFC South. When you have
Yeah.
Tennessee and you have Jacksonville and who's the other team in it?
The
Who,
Colts.
the Colts, exactly. When you have Indianapolis, Jacksonville, and Tennessee, it's not a lot of motivation to go out there. And I feel like you know the Houston front office feels like they can just win this. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, look, all you gotta do is get to the playoffs and see what happens. But when you're Houston and you have a quarterback like C.J. Stroud, you look at what the Bears did with Caleb Williams. They rebuilt that entire offensive line. You look at what the commies did with getting Tunsil and being able to
Mm-hmm.
keep Jaden Daniels upright still, and then them going out and getting Debo Samuel. You look at these teams trying to complement the young quarterback they have. I didn't see that this offseason with Houston.
No.
I didn't see it, and I didn't see a lot of direction. I don't know what direction they're taking other than trying to shore up the pocketbook. But when you have a quarterback on a rookie contract, I would think that's when you're not worried about the pocketbook. You're trying
Right.
to win when you have a quarterback on a rookie deal. Because at
Yep.
some point you're going to have to pay the man or he's out. So for me, I would have liked to see them buy. Let's get to the second place team. That was Indianapolis. So,
Surprisingly, second place.
well, Jacksonville and Tennessee. Uh, so, um, so, uh, I thought they would have moved on from Richardson.
Yes. Yes. Go
Yes,
ahead.
I'm. Yeah, I mean that's it. I mean, I thought they would have done more to move on from him, and in the very least, trade him for like a third or a fourth or a fifth. You probably only get a 7th round pick for him before he sits out. Before he's probably gonna one out before he even gets to his next destination. He's gonna be too tired. But it's just it's but I thought they would do more to move on from him. I
Yeah.
really did.
Yeah.
I thought maybe, hey, look, let's just bring back Flacco. Let Joe Flacco be a bridge quarterback for us this year. And then maybe go out and get Joe Milton, someone like that, to be able to back up Flacco and just watch. but they didn't, and I honestly don't know what to make of this team.
So what do they do? Buy, balance, or blow it up? What
I
do
think
they need to do?
every team in the AFC South needs to buy. Let's just shore it up that way. Let's just move on from this. Every team in the AFC South needs to buy. You need to buy
I
because right now, I mean, other than Jacksonville, maybe you can blow it up by trading Trevor Lawrence, but just for the sake of argument, every team in the AFC South just needs to buy because
yeah.
this division, just like the NFC South, just like their counterpart, less so than their counterpart, is really about let's just win a division. Let's win a division with a 6-11 season. Let's get to the playoffs. Let's host a playoff game as the 6-win team. Let's do this. It's just
Oh god.
there is very little direction happening within this whole division.
Yeah. I mean, besides the Texans, where I already said I would think they would need to find some balance in what the hell they're doing because they're almost acting like they have a cap constraint because of their quarterback. Like, that's not a thing. Um, Besides them, I feel like the other three teams need to blow it up. You already know my feelings on Trevor Lawrence. I already vocalized my opinion on what the Colts should do with Anthony Richardson, which is where they should go and trade for somebody, a certain quarterback from the Arizona Cardinals. If you really don't believe it in Anthony Richardson, like I'm throwing that out there, but ultimately, I think all three other teams need to really blow it up. There's
There's
you
not
can
much to
say
blow
like
up. I mean, they don't have anything.
I yeah, it's true.
There's nothing there. There's nothing there to blow up. If there was any, I mean, the only squad out of this whole segment that was laughably bad that could have blown it up was Cleveland. That's only because I had Miles Garrett. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's that. The end. Like that. I mean, there's nothing else to it. So with that, let's move to the AFC West. Okay.
Okay.
So my opinion on who won that division? I don't know, some
Who
team in
was
Kansas
it?
City.
Who has a five? What is it?
I don't know, like some
5 year streak
five-time
of
Super
winning the
Bowl appearance
division, three Super
quarterback.
Bowls.
I don't
I don't
know.
know.
I think his name is Mahomey. I don't know.
My
Anyway,
homie, yeah.
I think the Walrus and Veach.
What do the Kansas City Mahomies need to do this offseason, or what direction do they need to go in?
They need a buy on that offensive line. They need to stop this game. They traded Joe Thuney to the Bears. There's absolutely no reason when your offensive line is so laughably bad and you have arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks that has ever played the game. He's not even in his 30s. He's one of the greatest that's ever played it. And you leave him even less protected. It is inexcusable. That is a fireable offense. Veach should be thrown in prison because the Supreme Court Justice of Kansas City, Missouri should go out and he should throw him in jail because it makes zero sense to me. 0 cents. I get that this was probably like one of the best offensive lines you had, but that's like saying, the best diet you ever been on was being on Ozempic. No, that's not a diet. That's just you taking medicine. Like, no, this is like you need to be able to keep your quarterback upright. Okay? You need to keep that weight regulated. You need to keep Mahomes on his legs. And look,
Yeah.
Kansas City lost the Super Bowl. I understand that. And I think part of that had to do with I think Mahomes wasn't all that healthy because he's too busy being on the ground, throwing shots at Kelsey while he's falling to his 2 knees at the same time because no one's protecting the man. What are we doing? What are we?
Yep.
You need to buy an offensive line. I
Yes.
just said Chicago went and bought an entire offensive line. They traded for and signed all 5 new guys. 5 new guys. Last I checked, there's 5 guys in the O-line. Why didn't the Chiefs do it? Why didn't they?
I mean, there's a few pieces that they need to buy into, and you're right. I mean, when you have such an elite quarterback like Mahomes, and let it not go unnoticed that Mahomes has one of the most flexible contracts that I have ever heard of, where he keeps adjusting his bonuses to the point where like he's not strapping his team when it comes to the salary cap. Like
He's
there
not.
is some flexibility there,
There is.
and they can't build an offensive line. And one of the unspoken heroes of their offense being a D Hop that they had last year, they let him walk. Like it, where is your? My question is, let me see your books. I want to see where the hell your money's going. Nice. I want to see where your money is going because like why are you acting like you are like in this middle ground where you're like trying to rebuild but at the same time you can't afford other players? Like
Yeah.
it makes no sense to me. And you're right. The offensive line has plagued the Kansas City Chiefs since Mahomes took the realm as the starting quarterback. That is not something that is like a hidden secret. If it wasn't for Mahomes, they would be one of the worst offenses in the league, strictly because of their offensive line. And they keep struggling. And Andy Reid, get your, you know what, together. You know that an offensive line dictates how your offense is going to operate. You are lucky that Mahomes is as great as he is and has developed in the way that he has, because if it wasn't for that, you would have such a crappy offense and such a crappy team. Buy some pieces, figure out your books, balance your books, figure out what the hell's going on with your cap, your salary cap. Find a way to build some offensive linemen, fire your scouts if they're not bringing you good material for a drafting lineman that you can build up. Do something. You need a buy-in, like JB already reiterated. You need to buy into your offensive line. Mahomes could do such amazing things, long term, short term, if you give him a stabilized line. And yet you seem to be banking on the fact that he is going to carry your team despite your offensive line. That is not the way you should be
Yeah.
operating. So JB already re, mentioned that
Yeah.
to enough. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
figure out the offensive line. It
Yeah.
makes
I
no
think
sense that
Andy
they're
Reid's
struggling
too
so
busy
much.
trying. I think Andy Reid thinks the Jake from State Farm and the Bondarooski is going to keep Mahomes on his feet. That's not what's going to happen here. So let's move on to the Chargers.
Yes.
The Chargers are the one who, yes, yeah, we all remember that late season collapse by Denver. So, or that push by LA. So the Chargers, Manny, you love the Chargers. You are a huge fan of Jim Harbaugh. You have a signed picture of him that you kiss before you go to bed at night.
No.
What do you think the Chargers need to do?
First off, I am a less of a fan of Justin Herbert than I am of the Chargers as a whole. I think he's an overhyped quarterback that has a lot to prove. Let me just stop you there. But in the sake of this segment, I mean, Harbaugh needs to keep building onto his offense. They had a weird second place finish in a way that I don't understand how that went. Even I don't know. There's a whole lot of what the hell just happened towards the end of the season that I just don't understand. You cut a lot of players. You lost your like starting running back. Like I don't know what's going on. You need to buy
Yeah,
some pieces. You need to
yeah,
give Harbaugh like the reins to make sure that he can build the type of offense and team that he wants, but just keep buying pieces. So
mm-hmm.
if there's a team in that division that has the short-term possibility of dethroning the Chiefs as a division champions, it's gonna be you guys. You better take advantage of that opportunity right now before it gets away from you and a team like the
Yeah,
Broncos somehow
yeah,
builds up and leapfrogs you. So keep buying pieces,
yeah,
figure out where your deficiencies are, and build onto those.
yeah,
I trust Harbaugh to be able to build a team. There's no reason for me to think that he can't. Everything he says, he knows what he's doing in football. So let him decide what type of team he's going to be building. bring whatever free agents and
Yeah.
draft picks and do whatever he wants to do. I have a strong feeling that if you rely on your head coach for how you want to approach your offseason, you're gonna end up pretty well. It's a
Yeah.
safe bet that he knows what he's doing. JB?
Yeah, the best analogy I have for the LA Chargers is Jim Harbaugh treated his first season in LA like Prime did in his first season in Colorado. He cut all the players and he brought in all the transfers, and that didn't really
Hmm.
work out too well. It worked out well enough for LA to make the playoffs, but uh, LA needs to go out and get a running back. They need a run
Yeah.
game. They need one. I think this, and look, I'm not as low on Justin Herbert as you are. Okay, I love his golden locks. All right, there's nothing that I appreciate more than a man with hair down to his shoulders that curls as if it's Denise Richards in the '90s. But like, you cannot lean so much on this man like he's a woman that you can just be Bruce Willis and share your tears with. You have to be able to have a run game to balance that out. And, go out, get a run game, go buy a receiver. And look, we're done with free agency, of course. We still have the draft. And there is loads of receivers in the NFL draft, except for Isaiah Bond, because he's probably going to be in prison. But let's, what, uh, well, yeah, because the sexual misconduct. So
Yeah, no,
let's
I know.
alleged sexual misconduct. So so many jokes, but you need to be able to go out, get a running back, and again, it's like Houston. You have too high of a draft pick to be able to go collect a first round position player of like real relevance and immediate impact unless you trade up. And I don't see the Chargers doing that. I see Jim Harbaugh staying put. I see him picking the best player available. He already cut Joey Bosa. He let him go.
Yeah.
He let Joey Bosa go. And that's not all Harbaugh's decision, but I'm sure he had a hand to play in it because, let's face it, it's Jim Harbaugh. So,
Yeah.
being able to be in a position where you're picked so low in the first round, but you need to focus on those skill position players on the offensive side of the ball. It's going to be really tricky to do that. I see a guy like Omarion Hampton falling in their laps in the end of the first round. Maybe they go and take him. That would be a big boost to Herbert, being able to have a guy in the run game who is a three down back who can go out and make the plays for you. But other than that, I mean, LA needed to buy. I didn't really see much of them buying that much in the offseason. I mean, maybe
No.
some supplemental pieces here and there, but Jim Harbaugh is going to have to and team are going to have to be very creative in this draft. The Denver Broncos were probably the most surprised team in the whole NFL last season.
Right.
So, I mean, other than the Niners being so bad, they were the most surprised team. But so Sean Payton and company, okay? Bo Nix is their quarterback next year. He is the quarterback of the future there. There's no argument about that. Bo Nix won plenty of games for these guys. You can shake your head all you want, but it's true. So Bo Nix is the quarterback of the future for these guys.
Yes, he is.
Um,
I'm not shaking my head at that. I'm shaking my head at the pre. Go ahead.
okay. So Sean Payton needs to, and I'm going to be very specific about this. Sean, if you're listening to this, and I know you are, okay? I know you are. You're locked in on YouTube right now, waiting to hear the words that are about to come out of my mouth on the edge of your seat. You need to buy, but you need to stop buying former Saints players. That's not going to help you win a championship, okay? These players didn't help you win one on your way out the door. You need to be able to focus on players who are actually going to help you complement Bo Nix. Bo Nix is the future. You need to do everything in your power to be able. And look, that O line, I think, is only going to get better. Just like the Raiders, like we'll get to, That O line is going to get better next season. And so that O line, I don't think there's anything to worry about. But you need to focus on being, and that defense is stout. Focus on getting more skill position players to complement Bo Nix. Just like we talked about with the Chargers, the Broncos need to do the same thing.
But you know what? I'll make mine short and sweet. You, in many opinions, overperformed last year with Bo Nix as your quarterback, and you snuck into the playoffs because the Chiefs. We all know the controversy of the Chiefs resting their players to allow the Broncos to sneak into the playoffs. That being said, the Broncos need to come back to reality, find some balance, and build onto what they already had going. This isn't some miraculous team that's going to make a push next year for the division. You have the Chargers and the Chiefs ahead of you. You need to stabilize what you have already building, let your players grow, and give them the opportunity to develop within the organization. So I'm going to say balance for the Broncos because you overachieved, and we need to be realistic about where you are in your development of your franchise. Now the Raiders.
Go ahead. That is your favorite team to shat on. It is probably your greatest joy in life, other than
I
hugging
do.
your
I do.
husband. That is, like, go ahead. Tell us how you feel about the Las Vegas Raiders.
The Raiders are the stressful. I always reference my stress vein that comes out. They are 40% the reason for my stress vein. What? I don't know. Tom Brady is like the minority owner, majority owner, where we every time that anything major happens with with the Raiders are like, oh, Tom Brady knows what he's doing. He's the minority owner. We are not building some miraculous team.
Be careful
The
calling a
Raiders.
white man a minority. Be careful. Be careful.
Sorry,
Okay.
sorry. My, the Raiders need a reality check. You don't have anything to build on. You don't have anything to allow to grow. You need to blow it up. I I don't know what's going on with the Raiders. I'm not giving them any credit. When the season comes around, when we're finally doing our projections for the NFL season, I can guarantee you the Raiders will be at the bottom of that division with very little hope. I don't care what you tell me about Tom Brady helping that organization flip the page on the kerfuffle that is the Raiders. Pete Carroll is an 85-year-old head coach that is bringing Geno Smith as your starting quarterback that you recently re-signed or extended. That already tells me, are we really that sold on to what's going on with the Raiders? I'm not. I'm not latching up my horse onto that wagon because that would be a wagon that walks off the ledge of a 400-foot cliff, and I'm not here for that kind of ride. I'm going to say continue to blow it up. You need to find an identity is what the Raiders need to do. You need to find an identity because right now you seem like you're planning to play the like entertainment factor very much like the Cowboys where you just want the entertainment factor, the attention, and you don't really have anything going for you. Raiders need to a reality check. You need to reset and keep blowing up any kind of massive contract that you have lingering on your books and just start from scratch. JB, what is your take?
The Raiders need to buy specifically on one player in the draft.
If you say Sanders, I'm logging off.
That is Shador Sanders. No, it's not. It is Tatora McMillan. You have
Oh,
the
okay.
number 6 pick. Number 6. Last I checked, I can count the number 6 on two hands. Okay? You need to buy specifically on McMillan to be able to give Geno Smith the weapon that he so much deserves and needs in order to continue the success that he had in Seattle, so he'll have it in Vegas. You remember that Geno was able to connect with Jackson Smith and Jigba in Seattle that second half of the season. Okay, you need to be able to go draft a receiver, buy into this man, draft a receiver that will reflect the same kind of skill set that JSN is. And that will be able to allow Geno Smith to overperform for you just like he did in Seattle. Okay, there's a reason why this man ran away crying in the first round of the 2013 NFL draft when he wasn't drafted in the first round, okay? There's a reason why the Jets took him, because no one else wanted him. But when Seattle got their hands on him, when Pete Carroll, your new head coach, signed him and gave him the reins to that offense, he shined for a few seasons, and he shined greatly with JSN as his number one receiver. McMillan will give you the same thing. Now, other than that, if you should have went out and done everything you can to go get a running back. Vegas needs a running back. I've already said previously, the Vegas offensive line is going to be just fine. In my opinion, Jackson Powers Johnson is going to be a fantastic center after the season's end. He is going to be one of the most sought after centers in the NFL when this season is over. I've been a believer in this kid since he was in Oregon, and I thought he was one of the best picks taken in last year's draft. And I complimented Vegas to no end when they selected him. You need to be able to build around Geno. There's no reason for you to give up a premium pick, a third-round pick, to bring in a quarterback, to not surround him with the appropriate skill position players to make him shine in your offense. There is absolutely no reason for that. And if I'm Chip Kelly, Chip, listen, because I know you also are just with bated breath waiting for my words. You need to go in the 5th round and go get your boy from Ohio State. Go get Will Howard. Have him back up Geno Smith. You know how to coach the man. You know how to coach him. We all saw it in the college football playoff. Will Howard responds to you. He knows your system. He understands your offense. And he understands your language. Geno Smith is not the quarterback of the future for the Raiders. Will Howard should be, especially if Chip Kelly stays in the OC position, because there's no reason on God's green earth that man should ever get another head coaching job in the NFL. There just isn't. So the other 31 teams, don't even worry about it, okay? He's not good. But as an offensive coordinator, he's brilliant. And he knows how to coach quarterbacks. So, Las Vegas Raiders, go out. Go get McMillan with number 6 pick. And then if you have to, in the 4th round, go get Will Howard, go get Will Howard. You will not regret it.
But it's quite the take for a team that ended 4th in their division, and the record reflects of a team that is in the dumpster fires of organizational structure.
Yeah. Let me ask you this before we move on to the AFC West. Let me ask you this. There's a gun to your head, okay? Who's winning the AFC West next season? The Chiefs or the Chargers?
Oh, come on.
I know the Chargers.
I am not.
I know.
No.
Chargers. It's the Chargers.
No, unless you have to tell me some major... Patrick Mahomes have to have torn both of his ACLs, MCLs, and every other ligament in his body to tell me that I'm going against Patrick Mahomes. I am going... No, you're crazy. The Chiefs have a stronghold on that division. We can give them all the advice, all the other teams the advice, all the advice in the world. I'm not signing up to bet against Mahomes. I did it once. It backfired on me. I'm not doing it again.
All right. Well, the rest of you will have to wait until we do a predictions episode to see where I land. So let's get to the AFC West.
All right. NFC West.
The NFC West. The golden child of the Southwest, because let's face it, that's the only golden child they are. So let's start with who won the division? The Rams?
The Rams.
It's so forgettable. It's so
with all
forgettable.
of a 10-win season, they won the division. More surprising is the Seahawks with 10-7 as well. Go ahead. Rams buy balance and blow it up.
Need to just continue to buy. I I completely agree with the decision to restructure Stafford's contract, keep him in
Yep.
there. There was no way you were going to find someone who's going to do better than Matthew Stafford. Okay, and this
Yep.
is more of a credit to the lack of talent on the market than it is to Matthew Stafford. But still, okay, let's just call it spade a spade. Stafford is a quarterback for the Rams. There was no one that was going to do there was no one available to the Rams that was going to do better than Stafford would.
Nope.
So I completely agreed with Les Snead being able to lock him up and to give him the money that he wanted to keep him in there for another 2 years. I agree with the move to get rid of Cooper Cup because
Mm-hmm.
Cooper Cup was slowing down. The advanced metrics showed that he has gotten slower and slower and even slower trying to have breakaway coverage from defenders. And there's absolutely no
Yep.
reason for you to be able to have a guy who can't break away from a receiver to be connected with a 38-year-old quarterback. There's absolutely no reason. Unless that guy's name is Tom Brady, there's no reason for that to happen. So I believe that was a good move. They've done it before. They did it with the likes of Jalen Ramsey and others before Cooper. So that was a good move by them. The Rams obviously need to buy. I think this division is extremely winnable. I think other than the Seahawks, there's no other team that's going to catch them. No other team. So it is, and this is as of right now. Unless San Francisco shows me, unless John Lynch can show me himself with the pictures of the players that he loves in his wallet, that he can build this team to be competitive again as Brock Purdy as the quarterback, which, by the way, hasn't been resolved, has not been resolved. So, LA, the Rams, they are the front runner to win this division again, as they are every season. Because every season they go into week 14, they're 3 games out of the playoffs, and what do? Win 5 in a row, whatever, and then they win the division. So the Rams need to buy. I believe they need to buy defense, though. They need to be sold onto buying defense. And I think they also, if you're going to have Stafford there for another 2 years, go in and try to get an O lineman. Go get the best. I believe in the first round, get the best O lineman that's available. Plug him into that front five to help Stafford stay on his feet. Give him some more time to throw it to Puka.
I'll keep mine short and sweet with the Rams. You won the division. Um, I agree with JB that you made some right decisions when it comes to getting rid of players a little bit, maybe to the disagreement of some, a little bit earlier than you should have, but in long term it'll pay off for you by getting rid of like Cooper Cup and esque. But you have a good young core. You have some really good young players that have shown flashes of being really good at their position. I'm gonna go with balance. Let your players grow. Don't crowd them with bringing in like all stars or any major players into their organization. I'm gonna say balance because I trust that the Rams, especially with Sean McVay at the helm, that you have a really good young team that is gonna grow into their own. So just let them grow, find balance. Don't try pushing the needle a little too hard and then it crashes and burns. So just balance what you have going on right now because I think it's going in the right direction.
Yeah. All right, let's move to Seattle. I don't know
The
where they're
most diff
going in. I have no
the
idea.
most I think that's the more difficult team to figure out because they almost feel like they're like almost wanting to admit that they're kind of wanting to rebuild, but not really. With the Geno Smith, honestly, caught me getting rid of Geno Smith caught me by surprise. I have to go. I have to go with blow it up. I know it feels weird to say it. It feels like it's an organization that needs a reset. Again, I'll keep mine short and sweet with them. They don't give me the vibes of long term success with what they have going on. Trade what you have, blow it up, give the other teams an opportunity to kind of dominate that season, that division for the next couple seasons. It. I
Yeah.
know it's a weird take for me, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
say blow it up for the Seahawks.
I'm gonna say just balance it out. You already went and bought Sam Darnold. You gave him Baker Mayfield money, which I got no problem with, other than the fact that I think Minnesota was a better environment for Sam Darnold's production than Seattle will be. And maybe even just, I mean, because the defenses were the same. Mike McDonald is still the head coach of Seattle, and that dude knows how to coach a defense. I mean, he showed it when he was in Baltimore. But when you come from a place where you have Justin Jefferson and now you have JSN, nothing against JSN, but he's not Justin Jefferson. He's not going to go up and get the ball. So, quite like the same as Justin Jefferson would. So, I'd say just balance it out. You already went and spent the money on Darnold. Balance it out. Maybe go get a running back. I don't know if Charbonnet's the answer there, but just, and again, like you're drafting too low in the first round.
Hmm.
And again, a name like a Marion Hampton comes up. And then there's reports right now that are saying people shouldn't draft Genting in the top 10. So, it's maybe Genty falls to you. I don't know. But, maybe go out, get a running back. Maybe, try to give because, I mean, let's face it. I mean, we saw Sam Darnold in Minnesota. We saw what he was not able to do. And Sam Darnold's not a guy that's going to help you win games. He will help you manage the game. The defense, whatever Sam Darnold's defense is, that defense better be winning the game for them, because
Yep.
that is the way Sam Darnold's going to succeed. And now that he's in Seattle, maybe it was a little bit of an overpay. I don't know. NFL execs, everyone around the NFL loves the man because of who he is in the clubhouse. I get it. Okay, my youngest children are great in clubhouses. Doesn't mean I'm giving them the reins to the quarterback. I'm not giving Edison and Lucy the ball and say, "Hey, go win the game for me." I'm not giving them $105 million. So let's. But they already did it. Seattle needs to rein it in. Just balance it out. Do what you can to win this division. Um, it's extremely winnable. So balance it out. Try to get some supplemental pieces. Draft some pieces for the position groups that you actually need to build on. So maybe like the secondary and the running back room. Go out and get those pieces, bring them in, let them mesh with all the already current players that are there. But my take, balance it out.
The next team is the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to be very specific and very short with mine. The Arizona Cardinals have already shown that they are not completely sold on Kyler Murray. It's written on the walls. No matter how much mud you throw on it, you need to sell Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
We all see the fact that that's not the direction you want to go with that organization. The head
Yeah.
coach is not really bought into it. The GM is not really bought into it.
No.
Go sell Kyler Murray to, what did I suggest? The Indianapolis Colts. 3 weeks ago, you should have sold him to the
Yeah.
Indianapolis Colts back then. It's just, like I said, sell Kyler Murray. Maybe you can find a quarterback somewhere wherever you're picking and kind of slowly build him up to it. But we all see it. We know that
Yeah.
Kyler Murray is just not the direction that you want that organization to go. So just sell him. Sell him
Yeah.
while his value is high, because I don't know that he's going to necessarily raise his value. So just sell him while you can get your money's worth. Get rid of that contract as much as you can, and then just try with a quarterback that fits
Yeah.
your
Mhm.
with what the coach is trying to do down there in Arizona, or next door to Arizona in our case.
Yeah.
But yeah, sell Kyler Murray,
Yeah.
JB.
To mirror you, blow it up. Blow it up. I thought Kyler Murray, not in Colt blue. I thought Kyler Murray would have looked great in Giants blue, but but just blow it up. Blow it up. This has all the makings of a marriage where the wife wants to quit, but the husband's going out saying we're in a great spot. We're about to hit a turning point. Things are really about to start kicking off. We're gonna. I mean, we're starting to hit our groove. No, you're not, Arizona. You're not. You need to blow it
No.
up.
Yep.
and it's too late now. No one's going to take Kyler Murray now because the dust is already settled. Um, so I mean, maybe Cleveland would take him, uh,
Ugh.
but
Ugh.
just blow it up. And
Yeah,
so
blow
now
it.
that leaves us with, oh man, the one team, the last team in the NFL we're going to talk about is the
It
one
would be.
team
It
with
would be
fans
them.
enough to trash me for trashing who they believe is the second coming of Jesus or Muhammad, whatever it is they believe in. I don't know. So, look, Niners, just blow it up. Just
Yes.
start over. Just this is you haven't even made any progress with a Brock Purdy contract yet. What are
Mm-mm.
you doing here? What exact because here's what's gonna happen, Manny. Brock Purdy, let's just be as optimistic as hell. Let's just live in a reality where unicorns dance on rainbows and roses taste like chocolate bars, okay? Brock Purdy is going to blow up. He's going to have the greatest glow up in history. He's going to be the ugly girl in middle school who's going to show up for her freshman year with just the biggest breast and the best blonde hair that you've ever seen in your life. And he's going to want his paycheck. And you know what John Lynch is going to do? He's not going to give it to him. So if you're not going to pay him now, what the hell are you doing? If you are pussyfooting around giving this man $100 million now over 3 years to stay, what are you going to do when if he actually has the glow up? What's going to happen here? I'm not saying that's going to happen. I think this is going to be status quo. I think Brock Purdy's got a lot of learning curve to go through because we don't know what CMC is going to produce. We don't know how Ayuk is going to produce. Debo's not there. And we all know Brock Purdy produced when all his weapons were healthy. When
Mm-hmm.
everybody was healthy, Brock Purdy was at his best. When the offense was not healthy, Brock Purdy was not there. He's
Yep.
not. Man, he's sitting back. He's just letting me preach. I
I'm just saying, you know what? I already know how the 49ers are looking. JB, you already saying everything I need to say. Preach, brother, preach.
the Niners need to just start over. You need to start over.
Yes! Tell them, JB, scream it into the back aisle in the freaking nosebleed section of the Levi Stadium hears you. Why are we pretending like we don't see what the 49ers are doing? There are like the millennial silent quitter where they're like, "Well, we're not quitting, but we know we're on our way out the door. We know you're about to hit a rebuild. Why are you lying to your fan base if it's not for ticket sales?" There's nothing you have sold so many pieces. The only piece you have left is CMC. You can't say Brock Purdy because you're about to lose him too if you don't sign him to a massive contract. Ayuk is really the only piece that you have left. We know you are in a rebuild mode, but you're just silent quitting. Do I need to pull the band-aid? Who needs to go up to them and just tell them, yeah, we see it. It's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. Shh, shh, shh. Like,
Yeah.
put the baby to rest. Shh, shh, let it
Yeah.
go. Let it go. It's a
Yeah.
rebuild. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
You had a great run. NFC
Yeah.
championships, Super Bowl appearances. It's fine.
Yeah.
Let it go. Rebuilds are okay to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Tell that to the Dallas Cowboys fans where we're like, please rebuild.
Yeah.
49ers, pull the band-aid off, rebuild that
Yeah.
organization because we know that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
That's what's stressful. We know they want to do that.
Yeah.
That's why I was sitting back. I'm like, you know what? I don't really.
Yeah. Yeah.
JB.
Let it go was the mantra from my wife to our dog before he died. You can go now. You can die. It's okay. I love you. That's it. And
Yeah.
when you get to a place as an organization, when you say our starting left tackle is going to be on workload management, what the hell does that mean? I don't even know of a team that has two starting left tackles. Trent Williams is 37 years old. He's on his last leg, literally. I think I saw him hobbling onto the practice field because he didn't have a second leg. Like, just put the whole franchise down. Put it down. It's okay to let go. Change is good. Okay? You bury someone in the ground, you know what happens? Grass grows, flowers appear. Oh, there's hope for the future.
Yep.
Let go.
Yep.
Just
Let it
let
go.
go. I already
Yeah.
told you, Ayuk's contract is not going to age well. It is
Nope.
absolutely not. Especially when you give him the contract after he threatened to leave to go play with his old Arizona State teammate. He's out for the season. It's not going to age well. Just let it go. For the first time, let Elsa's mantra be real. Let it go. Okay?
Yep.
Elsa's saying let it go, but she held on so tight. She held on so tight to her identity. You need to just let go. Just let it go.
Yeah, it's poetic. We're gonna wrap up our buy, balance, and blow it up section by JB and Manny agreeing on something. It's very poetic that we're gonna end on the same page of the chapter book that is the NFL offseason. Yes, I that it. I don't. I'm at a loss of words, and you can tell by my stutter. It's just the Niners are just. They're a mole that I can't get the hair tied around to get rid of. It's just a nuisance to my existence, and that's not. This isn't even as me like as a Cowboys fan hating on them because they did some nasty things to the Cowboys in the playoffs. It's not even that. I know when reality hits you in the face, and that brick that is about to hit the 49ers fans and the
Mm-hmm.
49ers organization, I see it from 50 miles away. And yet the 49ers are sitting here saying, we can step slightly to the left and we'll be
Yeah.
fine. It's not going to be fine. That's a massive brick that's coming out. It looks like a 1 inch brick. It's going to smack you right in the face. You better take 50 miles to the left and just start fresh from the beginning because this is just
Yeah.
not looking pretty. And on that note,
All you Niners fans out there for criticizing me about Purdy, for not adopting him as the next Joe Montana, you're gonna eat your words when he's the next Joe Montana. Okay?
yep,
Just let it
yep,
go. Let it go. Okay?
yep.
You're in you're in the you know you're in the just the position of just receiving the death row medication. Okay, just
Yep.
let it go. All
Yep.
right, you're innocent, but you know
Relax.
what? Now you're gonna die. Okay, just let
Relax.
it go. Let it flow through your veins. Okay, just let it die.
Let it go.
Just flatline.
Just
Just
chuck
pet
it
the dog
across
to
the field
sleep.
as far as you can.
Pet the dog to sleep. Let him know it's okay. He can go now, and
You
then
have six
flatline.
Super Bowls. You'll be fine. It's okay. You're fine. All right, JP, we're done. We're done. I'm done talking about the 49ers. We're out of here. What did you drink? What did you smoke? Get us out of here.
I was drinking again some Lalo, some one of my favorite tequilas. I believe I mentioned before it's one of my mom's favorite tequilas. It is so good. Like Manny has said before, he would never drink a tequila neat, but man,
Nope.
I gotta tell you, it is delicious. And I was smoking a Drew Estates Norteño. So
Nice.
not a bad smoke. I picked it specifically for this episode because I wanted something that was going to be easy. I wouldn't have to light up so much while I was talking. Manny, what were you drinking?
I brought back my good old granddaddy.
114
That's what
proof.
I drank. That's right. I am trying to finish it off, but I am not suffering in the process of finishing this bottle. It's really good. I like it. I have what's that like 2 glasses left, depending on how deep you take your drinking habits. But that's pretty. It's pretty good. I'm happy with it. I I, I enjoyed it.
That's a glass to
Congratulations on
me.
an episode, JB. Tell people where they will find us.
You can find us, Box Scores and Bourbon, the whole episodes, audio and video on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. Additional content at BSB Sports 24 on Insta, X, and TikTok. Manny, close us out.
Thank you for listening to us once again. We will have baseball next episode. Hockey playoffs are around the corner, and maybe if you catch us in a good mood, we'll talk about NBA playoffs because that'll be right there too. Until next time, cheers, everyone. Stay
Stay
thirsty.
thirsty.